The Golden Haven Hotel, located in the heart of the city, is renowned as a luxurious retreat for the elite. With its grand lobby adorned with glittering crystal chandeliers and intricately embroidered red carpets, it stands as a symbol of opulence. John Carter, a successful businessman, entered the hotel with a calm yet confident demeanor. His perfectly tailored gray suit accentuated his tall and commanding presence. After a long day of attending business seminars, all he wanted was a room to rest. Lisa Harrington, the hotel manager, stood behind the reception desk. In her early 40s, Lisa was striking with her sleek blonde hair and sharp gaze. When she saw John walk in, her face immediately betrayed a hint of disapproval. She scanned him from head to toe, lingering slightly on his dark complexion before curling her lips into a faint smirk. John smiled and approached the desk. "Good evening. I'd like to book a room for tonight." Lisa didn't respond immediately, merely glancing at him with an indifferent expression. "We're fully booked," she replied, her voice as sharp as a blade. John was momentarily taken aback but maintained his polite demeanor. "I noticed on the hotel's website that there are still rooms available. Could you please double-check?" Irritated, Lisa tapped on the keyboard with a reluctant attitude. After a few moments, she looked up and said, "Oh, yes, there are rooms available, but those are reserved for VIP guests. I'm afraid you don't qualify." Her words left John momentarily stunned. He was no stranger to facing prejudice in his life, but such outright rejection still stung. "I'm willing to pay the VIP rate," he said, his tone remaining calm. Lisa let out a cold laugh. "Unfortunately, I don't think our hotel is suitable for you. You might want to try elsewhere." John locked eyes with Lisa. "Are you certain this is how your hotel treats its guests?" Lisa crossed her arms and took a step back, as if asserting her authority. "Yes, this is our policy." The conversation began to draw the attention of guests in the lobby. Some looked at John with sympathetic eyes, while others quietly turned away, not wanting to get involved in the uncomfortable situation. John understood that any further argument would only escalate tensions. He nodded, offering a faint smile. "Thank you. I'll leave." With that, he turned and walked out of the hotel, though his gaze left a powerful message behind. This story was far from over. Night had fallen. The glow of streetlights reflected off the pavement, creating an atmosphere both warm and tranquil. John walked slowly down the street, his mind lingering on what had just transpired. He was no stranger to discrimination, but Lisa's behavior had struck a deeply personal chord. From a young age, John had learned not to let prejudice obscure his sense of worth. Born into a poor family in a neighborhood plagued by high crime rates, his parents had taught him that while the world might be unfair, with hard work, nothing was impossible. Standing before the entrance of the Golden Haven Hotel, John turned to look at its illuminated sign. In the shimmering light, he saw his reflection in the glass doors. Behind the calm exterior, John knew he had the power to change everything. At that moment, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out, and the name of his personal lawyer, Richard Glenn, lit up the screen. "Hello, John." Richard's deep, warm voice came through. "I'm calling with good news. The deal is finalized. As of now, you're officially the owner of the Golden Haven hotel chain. Congratulations." A smile spread across John's face, his eyes gleaming with determination. "Thank you, Richard. I think I'll start with the flagship hotel." "Golden Haven?" Richard sounded surprised. "Are you planning to visit it right away?" John nodded, even though he knew Richard couldn't see him. "Yes, I just had quite an interesting experience there." He hung up the phone and looked up at the building before him. Just minutes ago, he had been humiliated and turned away from this place. But now, the situation had completely changed. The next morning, the atmosphere at the Golden Haven Hotel was more bustling than usual. Lisa Harrington arrived early, as always, meticulously inspecting every corner to ensure everything was perfect. She had no idea that today would be a turning point in her life. Around 9 a.m., a receptionist hurried over to Lisa. "Ms. Harrington, there's an urgent meeting for all staff in 15 minutes. The new owner of the hotel wants to address everyone." Lisa frowned. A new owner? She'd heard rumors about the hotel being sold, but she hadn't expected things to move so quickly. Nodding, she tried to maintain her composure, though a flicker of unease stirred within her. In the meeting room, the entire staff had gathered. Lisa stood at the front, her eyes fixed on the door. When it finally opened, John Carter walked in. He was dressed in an elegant black suit, his confident and authoritative presence instantly silencing the room. Lisa froze. She couldn't believe her eyes. It was the man from yesterday, the one she had insulted and turned away from the hotel. John stood before the crowd, his gaze sweeping across each face. He showed no sign of anger or arrogance. His voice was deep and steady, yet carried an undeniable authority. "Good morning, everyone. I'm John Carter, the new owner of the Golden Haven hotel chain." A heavy silence settled over the room. Lisa felt as if the ground beneath her feet had crumbled. She tried to remain composed, but beads of sweat began to form on her forehead. John continued, his eyes resting on Lisa. "Before we begin, I want to make one thing very clear. I deeply value respect and fairness in how we treat others, no matter who they are or where they come from." The statement landed like a direct warning aimed at Lisa. Her heart pounded, and she knew that her actions from the day before had not gone unnoticed. John asked all the staff to remain seated as he outlined the hotel's new policies. He emphasized that Golden Haven must become a place where every guest is greeted with respect and professionalism. Lisa, though anxious, tried to maintain her composure, but then, John unexpectedly called her out. "Ms. Harrington, I had quite an interesting experience here yesterday," John said, his tone calm yet laced with subtle meaning. "Could you explain why I was denied service when all I wanted was to book a room?" Lisa stammered, her face pale. I didn't know who you were. And perhaps there was a misunderstanding." John's gaze was sharp, piercing through her feeble explanation. A misunderstanding? Or prejudice? The room fell silent. The other staff members held their breath, awaiting what would come next. Lisa lowered her head, unable to come up with a reasonable defense. John took a deep breath and continued, "You will have the opportunity to explain yourself. But the first thing I want to see is change. In this hotel, no one is permitted to let personal biases influence their work." Lisa felt the weight of her actions. She knew her time at Golden Haven was likely coming to an end, but she also realized that this was a lesson she would never forget. Lisa left the meeting room with a strange sensation. She had just been humiliated in front of the entire staff and knew her future at the hotel was hanging by a thread. As she walked back to her office, her mind raced. How could the man she had insulted yesterday turn out to be the new owner? Why hadn't he said anything then but instead chosen to reveal the truth today? Sitting down at her desk, Lisa felt a tightness in her chest. She looked up at the large mirror on the wall, reflecting her pale and shaken face. For the first time, she felt utterly out of control. A wave of regret began to wash over her, but she knew it might already be too late. After the meeting, John Carter walked around the hotel. He needed no formal introduction. His sharp eyes took in every detail. He wanted to fully understand the property he had just acquired, not just its physical state but also the spirit and professionalism of its staff. When he reached Lisa's office, John knocked gently, startled. Lisa tried to compose herself. "Mr. Carter, how can I assist you?" she asked, her voice trembling. John entered and sat across from her, fixing her with a steady gaze. "Ms. Harrington, I'm not here to fire you, at least not immediately. I want to hear your explanation for your actions." Lisa hesitated, her eyes avoiding his. I admit I was wrong, but I didn't intend any harm. I was just doing what I thought was best for the hotel's image." John raised an eyebrow. "Best? Are you suggesting that denying service to a guest based on their appearance or skin color is what's best for the hotel's image? Lisa remained silent, knowing there was no excuse that could cover up the truth. John sighed deeply. You will have a chance to prove that you can change. I'll be watching closely. But remember, this is your final chance. John didn't stop at confronting Lisa. He decided to dig deeper into the working culture at the hotel. He requested detailed reports from department heads on how they managed and treated their staff. Additionally, he held private conversations with individual employees to hear their perspectives. Stories from the employees began to surface. Many shared that Lisa not only discriminated against customers, but also treated her subordinates unfairly. A receptionist, Sarah, confided, Ms. Lisa often criticizes me in front of guests for no clear reason. I always feel like I'm never good enough in her eyes. A housekeeper, Miguel, added, she rarely speaks to us respectfully. I feel like we're invisible to her. John felt anger rising within him but kept his composure. He knew that a toxic work environment would inevitably impact the quality of service and the morale of the staff. It was clear to him that action needed to be taken. John organized an informal meeting with all the staff in their break area. He wanted to create a relaxed atmosphere where everyone could speak openly. No one is obligated to say anything, John began. But I want to hear your honest stories. We can't improve if we don't understand the problems. First, no one dared to speak. But after a few moments, a waiter named David spoke up. Mr. Carter, I think this hotel needs change. We've gotten used to working under pressure. But the lack of respect is something we can't endure. Other staff members began to agree, sharing their own experiences. They talked about Lisa's management style, from ignoring employees' opinions to showing favoritism toward certain individuals. John listened attentively, taking detailed notes. He didn't interrupt anyone, only nodding to encourage them to continue. By the end of the meeting, he realized that the hotel's issues went beyond Lisa. It was the deeply ingrained work culture that needed to be addressed. A few days later, John convened all the staff for an important meeting. The atmosphere in the room was tense. Everyone knew this would be a pivotal moment for the hotel's future. John entered the room and scanned the faces around him. Thank you all for your honest feedback over the past few days. I've come to understand that there are many areas that need change. He turned to Lisa, who was seated in the front row. Ms. Harrington, as the manager, you have not fulfilled your responsibilities. However, I also believe everyone deserves a second chance. You will be suspended from your duties for 1 month to attend management training and cultural diversity workshops. If you can demonstrate genuine change, I will welcome you back. Lisa lowered her head, knowing this was the best outcome she could have hoped for. John continued, I will also be overhauling the entire management system. We will implement regular training sessions and foster a work culture built on respect and fairness. Although John gave Lisa a chance to redeem herself, he could not overlook the unacceptable behavior she had exhibited in the past. He decided to terminate the employment of several other staff members who had contributed to the toxic work environment. The announcement of the dismissals took place in a somber atmosphere. John emphasized that this was not a punishment but a necessary step to steer the hotel in the right direction. I don't want to turn this place into somewhere people live in fear of losing their jobs, John said. But I also cannot tolerate inappropriate behavior. We must do better, for our guests and for ourselves. John's decision not only showed the remaining employees the seriousness of his intentions but also sent a clear message. The Golden Haven Hotel would not tolerate any form of injustice moving forward. After making bold decisions, John Carter began implementing a comprehensive reform plan at the Golden Haven Hotel. The first step was organizing an intensive training session on diversity and inclusion for all employees. To accomplish this, he invited leading experts in human rights and human resource management. In the hotel's grand conference hall, over 50 employees from various departments gathered. They were seated in small groups, each provided with materials and a notepad. The atmosphere was initially tense, But as the expert stood up and began sharing stories, the room's attention quickly shifted. We all come from different backgrounds. The expert began. But here, we work toward a common goal, providing the best experience for our guests, regardless of who they are. Respect is not something we grant. It is a fundamental value of every human being. Interactive exercises were integrated into the session. One of the most impactful was the walk in someone else's shoes activity. Employees were asked to write about a time they felt treated unfairly, then share their feelings with their group. The room became filled with emotion as heartfelt stories from colleagues began to surface, prompting many to reflect on their own behavior. Sarah, a receptionist, shared emotionally, "I used to feel disrespected when my opinions were constantly ignored, but today, I realize that perhaps I, too, may have unintentionally ignored others." Standing at the back of the room, John observed the entire session. He felt a sense of satisfaction as he saw his employees beginning to change their perspectives. For him, this was just the first step on a long journey of transformation. To ensure the transformation was thorough, John decided to hire new employees with the right skills and attitudes. A recruitment event was held at the hotel, attracting hundreds of candidates from across the city. One of the standout applicants was Maria, a Latina woman with extensive experience managing restaurants. Maria demonstrated not only exceptional competence but also genuine sincerity in her communication. During the interview, she shared her experiences of facing discrimination while working at a small hotel. "I believe everyone deserves respect," Maria said, "and I've always tried to spread that belief through my work." John immediately sensed that Maria would be the perfect fit to lead the team at Golden Haven. He offered her the position of assistant manager, where she would work closely with staff across all departments. Maria's arrival brought a fresh energy to the hotel. She not only helped improve workplace morale but also became a role model for others to follow. Every day, Maria made it a point to connect with employees, listen to their challenges, and collaborate with them to find solutions. The changes at Golden Haven extended beyond internal operations and began to ripple out into the community. Guests started noticing the difference in service. One regular customer, Mrs. Linda Jefferson, left a glowing review on the hotel's website. "I used to think Golden Haven was a place reserved only for the wealthy and powerful. But this time, I felt warmth and friendliness from the staff. This isn't just a hotel. It's a place that truly welcomes everyone." The media also took notice. An article in the City Times praised John Carter as the visionary behind Golden Haven's transformation. The piece detailed how he had turned a hotel once known for its exclusivity into a symbol of inclusion. The increased community attention led to a surge in business. Rooms were consistently booked, and events held at the hotel received high praise from clients. John knew this success was not merely the result of strategic business changes but a triumph of compassion and humanity. Meanwhile, Lisa Harrington, after a month of suspension, began to fully grasp the consequences of her actions. The free time forced her to confront herself and reflect on her past mistakes. Lisa enrolled in a course on management and leadership skills. There, she met people from diverse backgrounds, each carrying their own stories of hardship and overcoming prejudice. One story, in particular, moved Lisa deeply, that of an older man named Paul, who had been fired due to his age but later became a mentor to others. "There are mistakes we can't fix immediately," Paul said, "but what matters is what we learn from them and how we change moving forward." Lisa started applying the lessons from the course in real life. She got involved in charitable activities, volunteered to support the homeless, and listened to their stories. Gradually, Lisa realized that change not only made her a better person but also brought a newfound sense of purpose and meaning to her life. When her suspension ended, Lisa returned to Golden Haven to meet with John Carter. She knew this was her final chance to prove she had changed. In the office, Lisa bowed her head before John. "I don't expect immediate forgiveness, but I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to change. I've learned a lot during this time, and I hope to make amends for my mistakes. John looked at Lisa for a long moment before responding. I've heard about the efforts you've made over the past month. I believe everyone deserves a second chance, as long as they are willing to change. John decided to reinstate Lisa, but this time in the role of Maria's assistant. Consider this an opportunity to learn and start fresh, he said. Lisa nodded, tears streaming down her face. This wasn't just a return to her job. It was a new beginning for her. Under Maria's guidance, Lisa gradually became a part of the positive transformation at Golden Haven. Returning to work at Golden Haven as Maria's assistant brought an unfamiliar feeling for Lisa. She was no longer in a managerial position of authority, but now had to learn how to work under someone else's guidance. While she initially felt a sense of loss, Lisa understood that this was her opportunity to prove she had changed. Maria, with her expertise and natural skill in communication, was not only an exceptional manager but also an excellent mentor. She treated Lisa not as someone who had made mistakes but as a colleague in need of support. In the early weeks, Maria often included Lisa in meetings with staff and clients, allowing her to observe and learn the art of professional and empathetic communication. One of the most memorable moments was when Maria took Lisa to a seminar for hotel managers. There, Lisa was exposed to inspiring stories of individuals who had overcome adversity to achieve success. A particular speech from one of the speakers stayed with her. Change isn't just about fixing what was wrong. It's about creating something better every day. That statement felt like a personal reminder for Lisa. She began applying new lessons to her work, willingly apologizing when she made mistakes and actively listening to feedback from her colleagues. Gradually, Lisa regained the trust of her coworkers and, more importantly, her own self-confidence. As Golden Haven began to stabilize, John Carter turned his attention to using the hotel's influence to benefit the community. He realized that the hotel could be more than just a place for accommodation. It could become a hub for bringing people together. John decided to host a series of community events at the hotel. One of the first was a free workshop for small businesses in the area. He invited successful entrepreneurs to share their experiences, providing local business owners with valuable insights and opportunities for growth. Additionally, Golden Haven partnered with a nonprofit organization to host a free meal event for the homeless. The event took place in a warm and welcoming atmosphere, with hotel staff actively participating. Lisa, now transformed, enthusiastically served food and chatted with attendees. For the first time, she felt the joy of doing something selfless. An elderly guest, after attending the event, took Lisa's hand and said, "Thank you for bringing warmth to people like us. You haven't just changed this hotel. You've changed the lives of so many." Lisa smiled, realizing she was becoming part of something far greater than herself. The positive transformation at Golden Haven not only improved the hotel's reputation but also opened doors to new partnership opportunities. Many prominent businesses, inspired by the hotel's story, reached out to collaborate on hosting high-end events. One of the potential partners was an international corporation specializing in organizing global conferences. Their representative, Evelyn Morgan, visited the hotel to inspect its facilities and meet with John Carter. The meeting was conducted in a formal yet open atmosphere. Evelyn couldn't hide her admiration for the professionalism and positive spirit of the staff. "I've heard the story of this hotel," Evelyn said. "It's not just a business success. It's a lesson in transformation and leadership." John smiled. "I believe anything can change if we start with trust and determination." By the end of the meeting, Evelyn agreed to sign a long-term partnership, designating Golden Haven as the primary venue for the corporation's international events. This marked not only a significant revenue milestone but also a recognition of the unwavering efforts of the entire team. After months of relentless effort, Lisa had completely transformed her work ethic and attitude toward life. She was no longer the authoritarian and aloof manager she once was. Instead, she became a colleague who listened and a leader who supported her team. Recognizing Lisa's significant progress, John decided to give her a special opportunity. During an internal meeting, he announced that Lisa would officially return to a managerial role, but this time as a co-manager alongside Maria. Lisa was deeply moved but also a bit apprehensive. She stood and said, "I want to thank Mr. Carter and all my colleagues for giving me a second chance. I promise not to let anyone down." Under Maria's guidance, Lisa learned how to manage more holistically. She no longer relied on authority to impose her will but embraced collaboration and support instead. The employees under her leadership gradually noticed this change and began to genuinely respect her. The story of Golden Haven quickly became an inspiration not only within the hospitality industry but also throughout the broader community. A major newspaper published an article about John Carter and his team's journey, titled Golden Haven: From Discrimination to a Beacon of Inclusion. John was invited to appear on a national television interview, where he shared the challenges and lessons from this transformative journey. When asked about his motivation, he said, "I believe the biggest changes start with the smallest steps, and sometimes, all it takes is giving someone a chance to witness the extraordinary." Golden Haven not only achieved financial success but also became a symbol of unity, compassion, and determination to overcome barriers. Lisa, Maria, and the entire staff took pride in being part of this journey. For John, he knew this was only the beginning. He continued to expand his influence, not just within the hospitality industry but also in building community connections and inspiring others to create meaningful change.